Okay, everyone. Well, hello and welcome back to the Wives Club. We are so happy to have you all here. Uh, for those of you all who don't know me, I am Maggie, and these lovely ladies that you see here, we all met in the Kevin Samuel space, and about almost 3 years ago, I actually booked a session with Kevin to ask for his permission to stand up a community of like minded and marriage minded women within the privacy of his Patreon group. And I'm so glad not only that I booked that session, but Kevin actually gave us his permission and his blessing. So for the past 2+ years, these ladies and I have been meeting every week. And what we would do is we would use Kevin's shows as a lesson plan to review our own action items, our lessons learned, so that we could improve all of our outcomes and give back to the community. Because I always used to get convicted when I would hear Kevin say, "Where are the older women to teach the young?" So we are former wives, current wives, and future wives, because I do believe whether you used to be married, are currently married, or want to be married, we should carry ourselves as wives because wives do move differently. So it started with just me, and then after, Avi joined us in the Wives Club. Avi, please introduce yourself.
Hi, y'all. It's me, AV. I am a future wife. I spent some time with Kevin myself, getting my mind right, doing a few sessions with him. That was fantastic. It was really life changing. We talked a lot about relationships, business, and just how he can tailor things to coach me personally. And I am so happy to be back this week to share some of the things that I've learned.
Fantastic, AV. And after AV joined us in the Wives Club, Lisa joined us in the Wives Club. But because we want to make sure that you all have an excellent listening experience, Lisa has pre-recorded her responses today. So I'm going to share my screen so you all will be able to hear Lisa in her own words, and she will be active in the chat with us. So one moment, and we'll let Lisa introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa. I am a current wife of 17 years. We have a daughter. My husband is what Kevin would consider a Henry or a blue collar type of guy. My husband is also a veteran. Let's see. And I am just happy to be back as your happy housewife. That's what I am. To share Kevin's message and to have these great conversations. So happy to be here.
Okay, and then after Lisa joined us in the Wives Club, Hermeisha joined us in the Wives Club. Hermeisha, please introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. Well, my name is Hermeisha Green, and I am really, really excited about this topic, a very sobering topic. But I am a former wife of 10 years and had the pleasure of meeting with Kevin a few times. And he was like a mentor to me. He coached me on how to be a better wife at the time. And here I am trying to pass on what I've learned as a former wife. So happy to be here.
All right, thank you, ladies, so much. All right, so everybody sit back and relax, and we are going to talk about the topic for tonight. But I do have a Cash App that I have to shout out coming right out of the gate. Thank you so much, Christopher. Mr. Christopher Williams, I know you're big on the AV side of the house. Also, I have seen you in the comments. Everything that we post, you have been there with the heavy handed $100 Cash App. I am so grateful. So let me make sure that I have everybody's Cash App along the bottom here. We appreciate it so, so much. And his comment is for thank you, ladies, for tonight's show. So thank you for the $100 Cash App. Incredibly, incredibly generous. All right, so I'm going to kick it off today and tell you all a little bit about my background and what are we talking about tonight. So you saw the theme. Hopefully everybody was able to see the overlay and you see the background. And hopefully you were able to hear the music. Believe it or not, a little bit stressful to get it all together, but we're really glad that we want you all to have a good experience. Okay, so the question is winter coming or is winter already here? So, a little bit about my background, and actually, we'll take a quick look at the chat. So, I was married for 10 years. I was married at 25, married to my college boyfriend. Loved being married, had two sons in the marriage, so I don't regret it. But I can raise my hand and say I had those modern woman tendencies where I thought I could do anything that a man could do until I'm 65, and I hit the wall. I literally hit the wall. So, unfortunately, the marriage did end in divorce. However, it is very amicable. We co parent really well. And since the marriage, I've been in a long term relationship with someone that Kevin would classify as a high value man, which means for me, I have had to do a lot of work to change my mindset to be able to get on the program and be more of a support system as opposed to thinking I could drive the bus. So, what we do here is just share from our own personal experience. We are still figuring this thing out, but hopefully, the lessons that we've learned and the mistakes that we've made can help others. Okay, so a few days ago, I heard something on the news about Groundhog Day. And if you know anything about me, I am not an animal lover, but I heard that this groundhog in Pennsylvania came up out of the ground and did see his shadow, which according to legend means we should expect 6 more weeks of winter. So when I heard that come through on the news, it made me think of Kevin, and I started thinking, is winter coming or is winter already here? So we're going to take a lap around, and I'll answer first from my perspective, and then we definitely want you all to be engaged. So I'm just going to take a quick look through the chat and make sure we shout out everybody. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you so much, Amethyst, for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you all for liking the live stream. It helps the channel to grow. We got Mona in the house. Thank you so much for being here. She says, hello, ladies. Hello, my dear. We got Real Bravado Network. Y'all, we did it right. He says, loving the dramatic musical opening. You do not understand. I was sweating bullets. AB was like, Maggie, you've got this. They were like, we can do it. So I'm glad it worked. Mona says, love the color coordination. It just happened this way. Happy early Valentine's Day. We got Chrysalin in the house. Chrysalin from The Mix. We started this community in the Kevin Samuels Patreon for obvious reasons. We wanted to keep it behind the wall. Then we moved over to The Mix, and we've been there for several months. But the ladies and I have decided to bring it out to all of you all. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for being here, Chrysalin. Everybody's in the chat. Marie is here saying, beautiful pink theme. What does David say? David Lemaire, I'm sorry, David Velar says, I wish there was a men's version of this. Ah, thank you again, Christopher Williams. Look who we have here. We got Chantel. Chantel says, I finally caught a light. Thank you so much. We did a collab with Chantel and announced that we were doing this. All right. So I'll come back to the chat. You all keep up the engagement because I don't want to hog the microphone. So I'll give you my answer and then we'll take a lap around. Is winter coming or is winter already here? So, you all know before I come to the Wives Club, I always talk to my guy to pick his brain because men think differently, and I want to know what is he going to say about this? And his answer was, and I quote, "Winter's always coming." I was not ready for that. I thought we had time to gallop around. Okay, maybe not gallop, to dance around in the sun. But it just shows you how I have had to learn that men are always surveying the land, always watching out for the enemy at the gate, where we as women, we don't really think that way, or I'll speak for myself. I don't usually think that way until I'm forced to. So at 47, as a divorcee with two kids, winter is here for me. It is cold and winter is here. I can admit that, I'm not in my prime, so I firmly accept and believe that I am average, but I have to overperform in other ways so that I am, a suitable candidate. So I would answer that as winter is here for me. So AV, I'm going to come around to you. Is winter coming or is winter already here?
Thank you, Maggie. And I'm so excited about this topic, guys, as a Game of Thrones fan, but also someone that really digested a lot of Kevin's content. When we talk about winter, a lot of people really think about, um, okay, it's cold, right? What happens in the cold? But I really think when Kevin was raising awareness on this topic, it was really centered on the economy. And I'll get into it a little bit deeper later. But he was also talking about when us as women, especially for those of us that are not prioritizing relationship, and we start to get to the end of our lives into retirement years, a lot of this is an economic discussion, right? Can you sustain yourself solo? And the reality is most Americans cannot. So we can either choose to refuse to partner and compete, or we can continue, or we can choose to actually compete and partner and bring families together, which I believe is the ultimate goal that Kevin was trying to come across when he talked about this discussion of winter is coming versus winter is here. In my opinion, it's been here for a long time. It's been here since 2008. So winter is here. It is freezing. It's freezing. But I think that when we think about this logically in the aspect of future wives, current wives, and former wives, what sets us apart is the willingness to compete. So I'm really excited for today's discussion.
All right, thank you so much, AV. And what I'm going to do, since I'm playing recordings from for Lisa, Hermeisha, if it's okay, I'm going to bring you up and you can answer, is winter here or winter's coming? Then we'll start with Lisa's answer. So Hermeisha, what do you say?
Winter is definitely here. And it's been here, like AV said, for a while for a lot of us. And I love that point that it's really about, can you get on a man's program? Really, at the end of the day, or do you feel like you have enough when ladies, do you feel that you make enough to support yourself to the end? Because I don't know about you, but it's cold outside. It's cold outside. So, it's about really thinking through this. It's very sobering. A lot of us have bought into the independent Black woman. I don't need no man. I can do bad all by myself. All the things. And is it really true? So the things that we're going to bring up today, hopefully that it will spark some introspection. That, can I really make it out here by myself to the end of the end? Do I make enough to be able to, you know, support myself? And we haven't even talked about children, those of you who have children out there. So this is a very important topic. And to answer that question, winter is here and it's been here for a while. I would say winter is here, is definitely here for those of us over 30. And it's pretty much a blizzard for those of us that's 35 and above. So that's what I have to say about that for now, Maggie.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that. Yes, it is a blizzard. It is cold outside. So I am going to pull up a recording that you all will hear Lisa in her own words talking about getting prepared for winter, whether it's coming or whether it's upon us. So let me go ahead and share my screen again.
And also, if winter is here, what are you doing to prepare? Um, for me as a parent, whether I'm married or not, things I've learned in the past few years, especially since we had our daughter, was to make sure we have things in place like uh, life insurance. My husband has always had life insurance, and I've always had life insurance through my jobs and even after. But also having life insurance in case something happens to either one of us. And then when my daughter got here, we really looked into getting a family will and a family trust and making sure we have things in place. So in case something happens to both of us, from even before when my daughter was born, we made sure that if anything happens to her, there's a family trust and information on who's going to take care of her and who's going to, be responsible and take her on. So we have a siblings that's going to do that, and not just one set of siblings. We have multiple sets of siblings or family members who will step in the gap if somebody else becomes sick or is not available or can't do it or what have you. And then also just having people in place in case we were ever just out of, just having people in to fill the gap in case something happened to me and my husband, um, as far as insurance wise and wills and stuff, and trust set up for our daughter. And I would say that even if I was a single parent, God forbid if something happened to me, I still want my daughter taken care of. And parents and siblings may not always be able to do that or may not be available to. Like one of my brothers, he's deployed a lot, so I don't know if that would work for him. I mean, he could probably make it work, but in the moment it happens, a lot of stuff has to take place. So just having things like that in place is important and being prepared for the winter.
Okay, so you all were able to hear Lisa in her own words, and I really loved what she said about preparation. So I think we all agree there's a consensus amongst us ladies that winter is here. So I'll give my 2 cents and then we'll take another lap around talking about preparation and what we learned. So if you all are following along in the agenda in the notes, I put a question in there about what did we learn from the pandemic. And like AV touched on, I remember when Kevin first did this episode, and he was often talking about how women who, like me, were just skipping through life like everything was fine. All it took was the pandemic to shut down the world. And then we realized we didn't have anybody, checking for us, or we had not made relationships a priority. So when everybody was hunkered down with their family, a lot of women who share our reflection were literally like out in the cold. So it was a huge teachable moment. So I know Avi's going to talk a lot more about the financial aspect of it. And, Lisa talked about having things in place as a parent. I agree with all of that. But I guess the biggest takeaway for me, I am so glad that I did make relationships a priority. And, I always share from my personal experience here. And like I said, we don't know everything, we're just figuring it out. When I knew that my marriage was ending, one of the reasons why I stayed in the marriage as long as I did was because I knew that I was not going to be, how do you say, a prime candidate. Got married at 25, so at 35, I was a divorcee with 2 children. And we all know that, men want their own family. It's natural, it's biological. And so I tried to make it work as much as I could, but like I said, unfortunately it ended. I remember single girlfriends that I had at the time talking about how great it was out there. I hated it out there. I absolutely hated it. I'm a relationship girl. So 6 months after the marriage ended, I was back in a relationship and have been in that relationship for now about 12 years. So taking advantage of that time. Like Kevin said, two things he always said, especially towards the end before he unfortunately passed: self awareness is sexy, but knowing your status amongst, the marriage market. I was not a prime candidate, so I had to get in, make relationships a priority early instead of taking advantage of maybe a older hot girl summer, which is not the thing that I wanted to do, so that when the pandemic or any time like this, any winter comes, now I have that time and I have that relationship that hopefully will be with me towards the end. So that's what I wanted to share about what I've learned and ways that I prepared. So AV, I'm going to come to you, and what else you would like to share about preparing for winter.
Thank you, Maggie. Yeah, no, I think this is a very cool discussion. And shout out to Out Here Trucking who sent me $20 Cash App. I sent him a Cash App back. But I do think that it's one thing to talk about the economic standpoint of this. And I think that's really what Kevin was trying to get at. And I'm going to talk from a future wife's perspective because, guys, I've never been married. That is on my list of things to do in this lifetime. But coming from a place where I have a strong financial background, 10 years in the financial industry, and also a law student that is wrapping up law school, I know that those are not highly desirable jobs sometimes that high value men or men look for in general, because it kind of comes with characteristics like, hey, maybe you're overly analytical or things like that. I think what Kevin was really trying to get at is with winter, sometimes we get really set in our ways as women in these corporate jobs. Those jobs become everything for us, and they don't need to be, right? Those jobs, and I'm kind of going through this in my personal life right now, they take up a lot of your personal energy. I've been kind of hinting at it on my channel a little bit, but like when you're giving a job all of your energy and it's time to actually be in a relationship with somebody and you have zero energy left, how is that actually sustainable? Right. And I think these are just some of the things that Kevin was talking about. Because in China, they have this concept, they talk about leftover women. And a lot of times, those are people that are in their 30s that just didn't prioritize marriage. And what happens, at least here in the US, is so many people prioritize education, they prioritize income. And then when it's time for a relationship, you start too late, right? So when it comes to winter, that's one huge point that I'd like to make, because when people start to wake up and raise their heads up, and let's say you're in your 40s or in your 50s and you realistically want to retire at 65 and you don't have a long way to go to start doubling up that retirement savings, to start planning for that trust, to start planning for what the end of life looks like. So for me, I really reflect on what Kevin was talking about, and it's so much bigger than relationship. It's just really looking at life in general, and so many people do not plan for this, if if at all, right? And it's kind of sad, it's a little embarrassing, right? But from a future wife's perspective, and for some of the young women that are out there, I encourage you to start thinking about it. You're in your 20s now, it's fun, but like, 60's not far away. It really isn't. Life goes by so fast. And I think when you are a little bit more adept into thinking about this stuff, when it is time to sit down and have those relationships discussions with potential suitors, you're going to set yourself apart by knowing, hey, I've thought about this already. I have a plan for myself, but not even just that, to be able to sit down and have a logical discussion with a man showing that you've thought about it, definitely goes a long way. So that's what I have for that.
Okay, thank you so much, AV, to that. So, Hermeisha, I'm going to come to you and then we'll play another video from Lisa and we'll take a quick chat break because we got so much engagement. But I definitely want to bring you in here. Hermeisha, what would you like to say, since we all agree that winter is upon us? What are you doing, or have you done, or should you have done to prepare?
Um, so many thoughts, but the main thing that's sticking out to me is when I think about this topic, I think quite frankly, this is one of Kevin's best monologue speeches. If you guys can go check out that, it was Winter is Here, the War of the Dawn, and he uses that the Game of Thrones theme to highlight a very sobering message to us as women. And the message is that at the end of the day, we were built for relationships. We can't do it on our own. And a lot of us try, and we can do it by living in survivor mode, right? But when I think about that monologue, and he brings up the connection between Game of Thrones and the state of marriage in the Black community, the majority of us are single mothers, at least 80% of us, non-married single mothers. And that's a big issue. And so when we think about winter being here or winter is coming, it's prioritizing the Black family unit, that we're better together, that we need one another. And in fact, we were created for relationship. And so then if that is true, then how do we prepare ourselves as future, former, current wives to be position ourselves to be seen, to be able to attract that husband, right? So we'll get into that. But I would say as a former wife, that's something that's on my radar where, after sort of kind of shedding the last part of my grieving my marriage, you know, I have to, doing the inner work that I've been doing, positioning myself when the time comes to I desire to remarry again. I'm not trying to be out here with two children by myself. And let me speak from one who I know that if I hunker down, as they say, I've been in the South too long, hunker down. If I buckle up, I have the means to make it on my own. But I know that that's not who I was created to be. I know I'm not flourishing in who I know I am. I'm a wife. And I know that I'm better with, someone leading me with a headship authority. I know that I need protection, provision, and security, right? And so I speak from one who I have the means, but at the same time, I know that it's wise to know how to work with a man and know how to get on this program and know how to position myself to be competitive in this marketplace to be able to attract him. And so I think we need to look at it from that lens. And the other point, if I may, when we think about, if you guys go back and listen to that video that Kevin did, he used the story of Game of Thrones and the children of the forest. So when we opened up with that theme, the children of the forest represents modern women. And if you remember that story, the women, out of fear, stuck the dagger in the man and then created the Night King. And so, here we are. When you think about that analogy that he came up with, which I think was phenomenal, that the children of the forest, representing modern women, we've sort of bought into that we don't need no man and feminism. And what did we do, women? We sort of rejected men and put the proverbial dagger in his heart. And here we are, right? And so the heartbeat of what we're doing here is trying to wake women up that, hey, you do need to couple with someone. We need each other. We need our men. We need our Black men. Men matter. And let's do this because this is survival. You really want to be out there by yourself with kids on top of that? And this is coming from somebody who wears a soundboard. I'm a PhD. I know what I bring to the table, and I know I can survive out there financially, but survive. I'm not trying to survive. I'm trying to thrive. So I'll turn it over to you all.
All right, I'm going to bring all of us up here. So I'm sure Lisa will be back and we'll take another lap around. But we've got so much engagement in the chat today, ladies. So I'm going to pick up where we left off. I want to shout out everybody. We've got a couple questions, a couple comments, and then we'll go back to talking about is. Winter is coming. All right, so let me see. I'm going to do it this way then so we don't cover up anybody. Let me see some. There we go. All right. I want to make sure I bring you all's comments up on the screen. So let me just shout out everyone. So, ladies, just sit back and relax. Let me see where we left off. We had Chrysalin from the mix, and Chrysalin says, "Ice, ice, baby. Freezing winter shucks." So, those of us, like Hermeisha said, over 35, y'all know I'm 47. But one of the things that oh gosh, in my opinion, there's nothing worse than having regrets and seeing people, my age who are kind of in that woulda, shoulda, coulda. So my heart, I'm a boy mom, two teenage sons, no daughters and no sisters, and so this is my way of giving back wherever I can. And if we can help, I know all of us ladies have the heart to, help and pay it forward. Let's see what else. We got Lisa's daddy in the house. She says, "Hello, daddy." Hi, Mr. Lisa's daddy. Mr. Daddy. We got Lloyd. Hello, Lloyd. Who do we have here? Luke Hazley says, "My favorite ladies in the social media world. You're too kind, Luke Hazley." Thank you so much for the comment. We appreciate the warmth that you all give us because, as you can imagine, us bearing our souls is not easy to do, but we believe that the outcomes are better if we are telling the truth about what we got right and what we got wrong. Thank you all for liking and sharing. Again, we got Chantel Simone in the chat. So happy. Luke Casely said something that we said hit the nail on the target. So Rodney is here. Rodney says the awareness of winter is a good first step. And I love that. You all remember, Kevin said it starts with self-awareness. As long as we're looking outside and thinking, I'm a 10, we're not going to be able to get very far with that. So being self-aware and knowing what we need to work on. All right, so let's see. Lisa's in the chat saying we need our men. Absolutely, and that's why we're here. Hermeisha says we are better together, and we are proud pick me's here. So there is nothing pick me, pick Misha, all of us. We yes, pick us, right? We are saying we accept that. We will slap that label on willingly. What does Luke Hazley say? Yeah, Avie's got her hand up. Introspection is sexy. Absolutely. Condemia's in the chat reminding us of that sound bite. I don't need a cookbook. I got an answer for that one. Yes, you do. Y'all remember that? Chantel in the chat saying, yes, it's not winter that's here. We have a blizzard here. We have Marie in the chat saying, everyone has a different winter, but winter is always coming. That is so true, whether it is a financial winter or parenting winter or relationship winter. I think that's a big first step for all of us. Thank you so much for that. What does Rodney say? Winter comes in the form of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual boundaries. Whew, that's a big one. Thank you so much. All right, we got everybody in here, and then we'll read what Real Bravado Network says, and then we'll go to Lisa's video. Let me change this up. I don't want to cover up anybody's face. All right. So, and I know we got the spelling, we'll get it. It's totally fine. Hermeisha, as a man in the market, the volume of black women over 35 that I've come across don't believe winter is here. And they have the expectation that black men get on their program. Oh, shucks. Well, that is not us. We are here to get on the program of our men because I've said it before and I'll say it again, ladies. You couldn't tell me anything. I was one of those, graduated from college. I was going to change the world. But what happens to all of us is that we do slow down. It's natural. How many women in their 50s and 60s are still charging through, but how many men in their 50s and 60s are, opening up businesses and conquering this and doing more? Please go forth. Okay, so we're going to take another lap around. I'm going to start with Lisa's video. So I'll share my screen again, and she's talking a little bit more about preparing for winter being here. So let me share that with you all. We'll take another lap.
Okay, so on the question of uh, what have you done or to make sure you're prepared for winter, um, past, present, or currently, um, even before I had a husband, I always made sure I had some kind of male protection. It was either my father, my uncles, my brother. That's just the way I was raised, and I was always taught to have let people know I have some kind of male protection. And even as a married person, there's been times when my husband has been deployed or had to go away for training and stuff. I would things I would do would I'd go stay with family. I'd stay with my parents, or I'd go, both my sisters are married. I'd go stay with them and their husbands. I'd even stay with my brother on occasion. And I've always tried to make sure I have some kind of male protection around me. And that's just the way I was taught. And my parents were like, your husband's not in town. Do you need to come stay with us? Do we need to come stay with you? Um, and I just feel more comfortable. I mean, even health wise, everybody has different situations, but I was just always taught, and I just feel more comfortable knowing I have that male protection around me. So I always try to make sure I have someone in place in case something goes down. So that's the way I prepare for situations like what Kevin was talking about.
All right, ladies. So we heard Lisa in her own words talking about what she does to get prepared, what she would recommend, and some things that she's taken. So some steps she's taken. So we'll take another lap around. AV, I'm going to come to you. What else would you like to share about preparing for winter? Anything you should have done, anything you could do or are doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll share something that I have been doing and something that Kevin kind of shared with me. And that was really, I'm going to take it back to Game of Thrones for a second because I love Game of Thrones, guys. This is like my favorite thing that we are doing. I love this show. So the fact that we're connecting this with Kevin as well makes me so happy inside. Doesn't show because you have to keep the ice going. Anyway, so in the spirit of Catelyn Stark, she is actually one of the characters in this show in season one. She died very early on, but she was Ned Stark's wife. And, you know, she was one of those characters that went out super early. But, if you think about wives in the show, that's like the number one person that I think of because she did everything that she needed to do to hold things down for Ned, hold things down for her son, who was the king of the north. And that's kind of how she went out in the show. A lot of people in the show kind of, they have unsavory endings. But I think about Catelyn. But I think the number one thing that I learned from Kevin was ask the men what they want, then do what they say that they want. It's actually kind of not rocket science, but it is harder than it sounds because one thing that I've done is I've surrounded myself when I became very curious about what is it that makes successful relationships work. When I started becoming more open to learning about what it is that the men are saying that they require, what they need, what an ideal relationship would look like for them, those are the things that will continuously set you apart. We're giving you guys some game here, but I think the first thing you need to do is ask. When I talked to Kevin, he was kind of like, well, this is step one. You're asking me. You're asking a man. You're not asking women. You're asking a man. Do what they say that they want. Seriously, even if that means practicing not talking as much if after they've had a long day or understanding what he's looking for after a long day. What is, does he have any things that make him happy after a long day? That could be like small things, like sending a joke text or something like that. Like just being able to be that peace, right? And when we're in these corporate jobs, you are so drained yourself that you're not thinking about these things at the end of the day. You're not thinking about how to make his day better. But I would say the number one thing is ask men what they want. Then, number two, find the theme. If you see a common thread after asking many men what it is that they want. And then the third thing, super simple, do it. Just do what they say they want. I mean, That's really all I have this week. I mean, we're gonna hit it with some ice, but it's just also I think the number one thing you can do is just be open enough to listening and to hearing it out. Future wife, current wife, former wife, all of it. We just need to really, really be open to listening, right? Even if we don't want to hear what's happening, just listen. So that's what I have there.
I love that so much, AV. Thank you so much. Yes, sometimes it's a painful lesson to learn, but they really are simple. And men do say what they want. The difference is they're not going to say it multiple times. That's why it's our job to listen. But Hermeisha, I'm coming to you. What would you like to share about preparing for winter? Since we agree it's all here, what have you done? What would you do? Or what should you have done?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Wow, so many thoughts, but that's a huge one, AV. Listen to the men because at the end of the day, they control access to relationships, y'all. That's just the truth. Men control access to relationship. They decide who gets married. They ask you, they ask you, then you say I do, right? They are the ones that say we are together, right? It's not us. We control access to sex. They control access to relationships. So these are all the things Kevin spoke about, right? So ask men what they want. I love that. I love that. And truth be told, again, Kevin put his stamp of approval on this group. He named it the Wives Club. So a lot of things we're going to be talking about is reiterating Kevin's message while sharing our personal experience. And Kevin told us what the men want. They want FBI women, feminine, beautiful, inspirational, fit, feminine, and friendly, right? Cooperative, submissive, teachable, all those wonderful adjectives. So, our men are not very difficult. They just want to be able to mold us. They want to be able to lead us. They want to be able to guide us and protect us and provide for us if we can humble ourselves, right? So I would say that the biggest thing that I've learned is, and as a former wife, is again how to be inspirational during the hard times. So important because we can lose that in the winter, in the struggle, in the survival of things at times. Um, I talked before that I'm not the woman I was when I was married. The growth that I've done and that continues. Part of that is I was completely stressed out as a wife. I was doing all the things. I was overweight. My hair was falling out. By the grace of God, my hair is growing back. I went to 3 rounds of telogen effluvium, just rapid hair loss due to stress because I was overworking and there was a lot of stuff that I was dealing with in my marriage. Um, so I would say the growth that I've done was I lost the weight. Lost about 45 pounds. It's coming back. I lost about 45 pounds since last summer, and I'm training and ramping up training this coming Monday, and just personal goals. These are all personal things because I know I can function at my best in my fitness area. Um, Also, the internal work. The internal work is so important, ladies. Being able to get the therapy as a clinician, as a trauma therapist. I encourage people, you're never too old to get therapy, right? We all of us have gone through some form of trauma. All right. And so we all are on our journey of healing and being the best version of ourselves. Don't neglect the power of therapy or coaching. Uh, and being able to lean into your femininity as a woman. I'm so passionate about that. Learning more about the soft side of me, how God wired me, and leaning into that is a beautiful thing. So I dance, I do all the things. I learn piano, all the things I've talked about before. Do those things that nurture the feminine part of you, and I think that's how we can position ourselves as ladies to be found and to be ready when He finds you, so that you're not out here freezing. Turn it over to y'all.
Thank you so much, Hermeisha. I love that because, yes, baby, it is cold outside. All right, we're going to do another chat break and then I will pull up a comment that we got on one of our last videos in a short of mine. So I'll pull it up and you all will see the little clip and the comment. So if you have questions for us, feel free to put them in the chat. Now, I will say this. There's a lot in the chat, so I want to shout everybody out. You all are giving us so much content here. We're going to have Wives Club episodes. Well, we're going to be here for you every week, but we're going to have so many more topics to cover. So we're so glad to foster this conversation with you all. So I'll go through them, and some of these we'll have to put a pin in it. So, what does Rodney say? Rodney says that the pandemic revealed our priorities. Absolutely. When Kevin used to talk about, you all remember when he would talk about going to the grocery store and seeing the panic on women's faces because it was down to water and paper supplies. And, I firmly remember like being at home and being comfortable. And, my guy would go out and he would just, without even me thinking, hey, I found these at the store. I grabbed extra and bought you some. So having access to that mindset is such a gem. All right, so let me just continue to scroll. We have Luke Hazley in the house saying yes, it is important to have a really good network of friends, but I'm gonna I agree, but I will also say I don't want to be, what was that show? Golden Girls? I don't want to be around cheesecake, and I love these ladies, but we all want a man in our lives. And absolutely, Lucchese, I know the sentiment of your comment here. And and I know Lisa's talked about taking trips with her sisters and all of that. We love all of that, but men are different. We are wired different, and I do believe we need each other. So, yes, have your friends selectively. We'll talk about that in another episode, but yes, we absolutely need our men as well. Lisa did say the pandemic was a great wake up call for all of us. I think we all remember the day that everything shut down. Um, what does Brandon Eljet in the house say? Winter is coming and a long night were the best back-to-back live streams that Kevin Samuels did of all time. So yes, and I see Brandon, he is dropping the link. If you all have not seen that live stream, even though Kevin has unfortunately passed, his message still is on. That's why we're here. When I booked that session with him and he gave us his blessing, he came up with the name, The Wives Club. And we have been doing this work going into year 3. This is only our 3rd episode in the public, but we still have a catalog of over 70 videos between the Patreon and the mix. So we've been behind the wall doing the work to make sure that we can improve our outcomes. So yes, we still use Kevin's content as a lesson plan. It's pure gold. All right, so just scrolling through, everybody shouting out to Lisa. Yes, we wanted to make sure you all had a good experience. We promise to continue to get better. Double C is saying, hello, beautiful ladies. Thank you so much for the compliment. We have a question here from Grace Rennie saying, Maggie, just curious how you met your current man. That's a whole episode in itself, but I will give you the Cliff Notes version. So it's someone I knew from childhood. And you all remember that Kevin used to say, men need that 10 years to work hard, be on their grind, eat you know what, because they are not ready. And I know AV talked about this before, so I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. So the caution when we are in, co-ed schools and in the workplace and we meet somebody at our own age. Lisa has talked about this. Remember, Kevin used to talk about that IKEA marriage, right? Are you willing to start very small and humble and build together, and then that payoff comes on the end? If not, then we need to marry older because a man is just not ready. A man at our age in the 20s is not ready. And I didn't get that until I became a boy mom. And now with, a 13 or 15-year old sons, I'm looking at them saying, ain't no in the way in the world they're going to be ready. So this is someone I knew from childhood. Life took us in different paths, and post divorce, what I will say is this: the person that I knew was a completely different man, having gone off and built himself. And so that's a whole nother episode. But the key and the lesson in that for me, ladies, never burn a bridge. Remember, Kevin always used to say in his relationships, he left women better than he found them. So we've talked about that in other episodes, and I don't want to derail, but you just never know what life will bring back to your path. So just wanted to share that, and then we'll keep going through the chat here. All right. So what does Condemnia say? The Wives Club, always good to hear you all speak. Thank you so much. What does Luke Hazley say? Those jobs are time and energy intensive. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I'll show you all one last clip. A lot of us have corporate experience, and corporate has its benefits, but it also can take a huge toll on you. All right, what does David say? The way I understood it is that winter was coming for the very large segment of the population of women who took for granted their seemingly unlimited access to men. Remember, Kevin always used to talk about women would go live our lives and then we want to go pick a man off the high value tree? That's not how it works. Not only are they few and far between, but they are highly selective. And if we think we're just going to jump in and say, pick me, I'm ready, it's a lot of work, and it's continuous work, even when you get one, to keep one, believe me. But it's definitely worth it. And then David says, in the idea that men were having to adapt to women setting the pace. I made that mistake in my marriage. I can honestly say that I thought that there were co-leaders, and that's not the case. And I bumped my head and learned the hard way. So I'm here to share, with you all that. All right, so we got Snuggles in the house. Snuggles is asking, what is the job of a wife? Maybe, ladies, that can be an episode because you remember Kevin always used to say, being a wife is a full job. It is a role. It's not just a title, it is a role. So thank you, Snuggles. We'll talk about that. Snuggles is also asking, what is a wife supposed to expect from her husband? We will include that. Thank you so much. Luke Hazley is saying, reminding us of the Sheng Nu. Well, that was another episode we might have to do when Kevin pulled up that footage of how when people would unfortunately pass and they didn't have family to check on them and it was just full of litter. I don't know if you all remember that episode. It was very striking. But she says the term popularized by the All China Women's classifies women who remain unmarried. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a golden girl. All right, we got out here trucking in the house saying great topic tonight. Thank you all so much. We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the engagement. Kia saying hello. All right, just scrolling through. I want to call everybody out. We're welcoming everybody. Thank you so much. Oh, David is giving it to us. He says it always comes down to the choice of the men that these women make. Yeah, what did Kevin always used to say? Life is about choices and trade-offs. Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you all chime in. A single mother's job is truly hard and probably exhausting at the end of each day. Tell me about it. Oh my goodness, we got so much in here. All right, so we will come back around to the chat. I am going to try and share my screen with you all, but I'll see if AV and Hermeisha had anything else they wanted to add while I pull up the video. And we have a comment that was left for us that I would like for us to respond to and see what you all in the chat think. So AV, I'm going to let you, I saw your lips moving, so I'm going to let you speak.
Oh yeah, like I said, I think that that's the biggest takeaway from this is really being realistic with what the end of life looks like for all of us. And it was never really designed for us to be single human beings, right? At least in this country. So that's just something to think about. I know that there's going to be a lot of resistance out there, um, but people that think differently are the people that win, right? So I just want to kind of leave us with that this week.
All right, fantastic. And I've almost got it pulled up. So Hermeisha, I'm going to bring you up and see if you had anything else you wanted to add before we go to the last question.
Yeah, just to just to sort of echo the seriousness of this topic. One thing that Kevin taught us is time is precious. I mean, I just looked at how much content he pushed out in a short period of time and how he was driving home the message so intently, but with accuracy and with data and statistics and talking to thousands of people, you know, and obviously we have a catalog to refer back to, but that's something I'm sitting with where it's sort of like there's an urgency with this message, ladies. Not everybody's going to resonate, but if it's for you, you know, absorb, absorb it because it's life changing. And uh, the men have been saying this for a while, um, that, they desire relationships. I think that what we're trying to do is, equip as many women as possible to be marriage ready. At the end of the day, that's our mission. And that was the mission of Kevin. He wanted to see healthy relationships, healthy, flourishing Black families and communities. Obviously, this is applicable to everyone. So, this is. I think we need to be moving with urgency. Time is precious. Life is but a vapor, and that's kind of what I'm sitting with. And those are the women that are watching. If you're in your 20s, you're in your prime. Learn from us. If you're in your 30s, what did Kevin say? Danger zone. And if yeah, I'll be 40 next month, y'all. I know, but I can still hear Kevin's song. He had a song for that. Doom, doom, doo doom, doom, doo doom, doom. Doo. It's so haunting, but it was so funny. But it's so true. There's an urgency. So that's what I would say. That's the part. Time is not on our side. Life's but a vapor. Let's really take this in and be the best version of ourselves and go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hermeisha. And Hermeisha said exactly what is on my heart. Absorb it if this is for you. We are never here to tell anybody what they should do. This group came together organically because we all either booked a session with Kevin or spoke to him one on one at some time, and we're looking for like-minded women because we knew that the image that was out there did not reflect us. And so if this is the space for you, you are most welcome. All right, so I am going to share my screen one last time, and then we have Lisa's final video in response to this. So again, the Wives Club is here for you usually every Friday night, but please subscribe. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And so on our YouTube channel, we do post these live streams, and then I try to clip them down so that you all can have bite-sized portions of the content. So last week, I made a point about working in corporate America. So I'm going to play that clip. It's 1 minute. And we got a very interesting comment on that clip. So I'll play the clip, and then I'll read you all the comment. And then the wives are going to do one last lap of responding to it, starting with Lisa's video. But I would love to know what you all think, not only about the topic, but about the comment after we're done. All right, so let me mute, and I'm going to share my screen one last time. I've done a lot of work to go from that 50-50 mindset to being a support system, for a man. And I have shared with you all, you know, having these big executive jobs and corporate career, people were proud. My family was proud. It was a great accomplishment. But if I'm being very honest, I felt like I had to kind of beat back who I naturally am, right? The silly Maggie that you all know. Um, you just kind of have to have your game face on. And I am not complaining. Nobody forced me to do anything. I went into it willingly, but I didn't realize the toll that it was going to take on me. And I didn't realize how I was going to come across. Um, if I look back on, the marriage, one of the things that my guy said, and I always pick his brain before I come to these conversations because I always like to know from a man's perspective, but he said something this week that really kind of shook me. I've done a lot of work to go from that 50-50. All right, so I am going to read to you all the comment. I know it's a little small on the screen, but if you all were able to hear what I said, and then I'm going to read this comment and then we're going to respond. So we had a person with the username Devil Boy Kills You, and he commented, as a man, I want my wife to have that. I'm assuming he's talking about that big corporate job. If I die, I want to know that she can keep our family together and pay the bills, not have to find another man to make it. If you make your old lady depend only on you, it's going to backfire. So that was the comment that we got to my post. So what I'm going to do before I drop the floor, I'm going to go back and we have Lisa's video where she is responding to this. I'm going to play that video and then we'll let the ladies take a lap around. So you all heard the clip and you heard the comment. Let's hear Lisa's response and then I'd love to know what you think in the chat as well.
Okay, so to the question we got in the comments about if your spouse passes, the male head of household passes, and the guy said something about he would want his wife to step up to the plate and, you know, keep working and you know, support the family. I'm like, if my husband passes, um, God forbid, then me and my daughter would be set up quite well because, like I spoke of before, my husband and I have life insurance. We have trust in place. Let's see, I've got backup men in my life, like my father, my brother, my brother-in-laws. So I don't feel like I would have to go back to work. And me, in my situation, I can't work right now anyway because I'm a housewife and I haven't worked in about 10 years. So um, there would be, if it weren't for my husband, I wouldn't have anything to fall back on. Not everybody can just go back to work after being a housewife or even working whatever job you have as a wife, and then your husband's income is gone and having to take over everything that he was providing. If he didn't have things in place like life insurance or um, whatever would be needed to, I wouldn't. I think it would be an awful thing to have your husband not have anything left for you, and you just have to go back out and work or work double hard with kids and to grieve and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if this person's ever lost somebody in their life. It sounds like a really young and foolish person if you ask me, because I had a pregnancy that didn't work out, and that took about 6 months for me to get over that. So imagine losing someone that has been in your life for quite a long time, and you have children or whatever, and you lose them. I don't know if you will be prepared to go back to work right away, and why should you? If they didn't, if they cared about you so much, they should have had things in place. That's why I feel like Kevin's message is so important, because um, it may sound all good when you're young. Just like for me, I was young and was going to work and do all this, and then I got taken out of work game 10 years in. So my degrees and all the money I was bringing in doesn't mean anything now. Luckily, my husband was prepared for that. And so I think this question is more about someone's immaturity and maybe not enough information. But as far as I'm concerned, if that, God forbid, that happens to my husband, I will be prepared to continue my life if I want to get married again, because I love being a wife and I want that protection. So my husband would leave me very well kept.
Okay, beautifully said, Lisa. Thank you so much for saying that. So I will respond and then we'll do our final lap and close out with the comments. So I was, I want to say surprised, but unfortunately not surprised when we got that comment. And you all know when you put yourself out there like we are, you kind of have to be ready for anything. And I will say this, we know this is a public forum and all comments, you have the right to comment. I took a look at that person's page. I assume it's a young man because the name was Devil Boys Kills You. And when I went to his page, it was a video game page. So this is somebody, like Lisa said in her response, that is not mature because expecting a woman or being okay with your woman carrying that load is not the way that a man thinks. A man suffers, unfortunately, for his family. He doesn't want to put that burden on hips that belong on his shoulders. So I 100% disagree with you, Devil Boy Kills You. Thank you for the comment. You've given us an opportunity to realize that there are men out there that think we should be the workhorse. I couldn't disagree more. If unfortunately my spouse or even, my ex-husband passed and everything was on me, I would want to grieve. I would want to make sure everything was taken care of, take care of children, and get back on my feet. It's not about, strapping everything, hitching that wagon onto me and going until 65. We're just not built for that. So that would be my response. And ladies, I would love to know what you have to say to the comment that we got. So, AV, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I remember talking to Kevin in his Patreon when I first joined in like October of 21. And, he was just talking a little bit about the roles of men and women and how we play different roles, even if that means, I think sometimes he would say this, like, we are not your friends, ladies. Meaning, like, I can't have a conversation with my guy that would be like how I would talk to a girlfriend. He's like, that's what you have your girlfriends for. You go and talk to them about that type of stuff, right? Because really, when he talked about highly desirable women, we know what those things are. Hermeisha, I hear you talk about it all the time. She's attractive and appealing. She has a comforting character. She's discerning and disciplined, enthusiastic and exuberant, loyal and liberating. And yeah, we get comments like this from time to time, but I think really when you think about the standards of what type of women are over here, those are the standards. And just kind of looking at some of the men, no matter where they are, whether they're blue collar, white collar, I think for those of us that are looking for something different, it's not really going to be aligned with the comment that we got, and that's all good, right? Because it's going to happen. We're going to get more of it, right? And real quick, shout out to Moose. Mr. Mustachio, it looks like you got accidentally timed out. I don't think that that was intentional at all. So just wanted to mention that real quick as well. But yeah, this is such a great show. I'm so happy that we talked about this topic and really cool stuff tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, AV. And I'm coming to you, Hermisha, but I have to shout out none other than Christopher Williams again coming through with a $50 Cash App on top of the $100 Cash App. And he says, with the hand claps for a great show, ladies. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for that. We want to bring you all a good experience, and I appreciate it so much. So, Hermisha, I'm going to come to you. How do you respond to the comment that we got on our short?
Very, very interesting comment indeed. Before I get into that, I want to shout out Mr. Moore. Thank you, sir, for the $50 Cash App. He said for an excellent analysis in the beginning of the show. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your generosity. Okay, you know, so I think somebody might have said it in a comment. I think Luke Casey hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, there's a lot of men sort of raised that way with that mindset. Not all of our men, but there's a good chunk of that. And it made me think about Kevin when he said the majority of single mothers in our community are mothers by, I think the stats are about 16% of the men. 16% of the men are contributing to the single mother epidemic in the Black community. When I think about that, he said that before. When I think about that now, when I think about that comment from this gentleman, I can't help to think if he's a product of a single mother household who saw his mother work very hard, grinding it out, right? So these young boys grow up into men who would then expect their women to work hard and grind it out, right? And so the pattern continues. This is why this message is so important for the women, because again, men control access to relationship. We control access to sex. We determine who enters our womb, right? We determine who gets born. If we say no, they won't get born, right? So, and we can prevent these types of things from happening where a lot of our men have been raised by masculine men who had to be masculine to be the sole provider in their homes. Look at what the ripple effect that it does in our community to get a comment like that. I just wanted to kind of paint that, thinking about the stats that I remember Kevin mentioning, and the big picture, so we can get the big picture here. This is why a wife is a role, a husband is a role, masculine and femininity. Like this is just how we're created, right? And when we operate and flow in that role, we're all in alignment. As Ayana would say, we're in order. A lot of us are out of order. And I think that comment was out of order. But maybe that was all he knew because that's all he saw. All right. So that's what I wanted to say on that.
And I'm muted. All right, ladies, I absolutely love that. So we're all here we are. Okay. So just to make sure that we all have a great experience, what I'd like to do is I see a lot coming in the chat. I'm going to call everybody out. If you had some comments on that last little comment on the short. We'd love to hear it. But I'm going to read everything. Thank you all so much for the feedback. And if you've asked us a question and we can't answer it today, believe me, you're giving us great content. So I think where we left off was that dude named Dave. He says, salute to the ladies. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon L. Jet, for dropping Kevin Samuel's video in the chat. So again, this one is winter coming? Or is winter here? And I think we all agreed that winter is here for us. Please go back and watch Kevin's content. Even though he's not with us, his message still lives on. We have Mr. Never Too Much saying, this is such a great idea, giving the younger generation of women an idea of what it takes to be a wife. Absolutely. And, one of the reasons why we talk about that, it always used to puzzle me when women would call in and Kevin would ask them, but are you a wife? And I'm thinking, well, of course they're not married. That's why they're calling you. And then it clicked. It's like, oh, we have to be wives first before we are found. So thank you so much for that. Cognizance is chiming in saying, as a woman in the financial industry, I see a lot of women in that industry who priority education and career growth over family. Yeah, all of us on the panel here have that in common, our degrees, our corporate jobs, all of that. And we're all saying we would trade it for the men in our lives. So absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's see what else we have. You all are shouting each other out. What does Rodney say? Rodney says, good men look for a woman who understands the value of masculine covering. Whew, that is a word. That is so true. You all remember that episode? I think it was when Kevin was talking to Brittany Renner and he said, we have to die for you. All you got to do is listen to us. I will never forget that. So I always ask myself when I want to say something, is this really the hill you want to die on? Because my guy will tell me, all right, buckle up, let's go. We're going to 65 doing it together, right? And I'm like, no, sir, we are not. I will sit back right here and you can have it. Lisa's telling us to stay ready. Thank you all so much. Yes, rest in peace to the Godfather. Mira Love, Hermeisha, our father says hello. You got some family in the chat. Absolutely. Got condemn you saying, yeah, repeat that part. Ask the men what we want. It's not that hard, ladies. What did Kevin always used to say? Study your man. When you find a good one, we are to customize ourselves to them. So worry about what he wants and what not what everybody else thinks. Yes, shout out Christopher again. Thank you for the cash outs to the GOAT, Kevin Samuels. Lisa is saying hello and welcome. Rodney says, we men are simple, but we are usually serious about our perspective. Yeah, that was a lesson I had to learn too. Men are not gonna, like Avi said, Kevin said, that, that's what the ladies are for. What did Luke Hazley say? Right? We need girlfriends. That's what we did in this space, talk amongst ourselves. But it's very different with our men. So listen when they speak, they mean what they say. We got personal time with Kim K in the house. What does she say? Oh, she says men do have a theme, and it's peace. Are we bringing peace or are we bringing chaos? If you find yourself bouncing around a lot, you may be more chaotic than you think. So, absolutely. Lucchese is talking about the follow through. Out here trucking is chiming in saying, that's true. I'm only going to tell you once. So, I don't think it gets any clearer than that. Oh, Lisa, you got some compliments on your fashion. They're loving the jacket. Snuggle is asking what mistakes we can make to not get divorced. That'll be a whole nother episode. And as a former wife, I can absolutely tell you what I should have done better. I take responsibility for that. But I will say I've learned through therapy, getting better, and every day making sure that I'm a support system and not trying to be out in front. What does Brandon Eljet say? Men want our respect. We work too hard to come home and be with someone who doesn't have any respect for us. It will not work. Another one just said it plain. Let's slow down and not blow past what they say and really let it soak in, ladies. All right, what does David Villar say? Even in dating, it seems that women tend to be inconsiderate about communicating when the man is more considerate. So it feeds into the dysfunction. The thug types get more consideration. Why? That could be another episode. Remember, Kevin always used to exclude athletes and entertainers and just our regular everyday guys? How often they are overlooked until we get desperate and then we're like, oh yeah, remember me? What does Condemnia say? Facts. Stay in the gym, ladies. Go with your man. He better be in there too, so we all can work on our fitness. All right, let's see. Rodney is saying that men hate the trauma and the baby drama. Yeah, we got to get it together. We can't bring chaos to them. Genesis is laughing at the Golden Girls. Y'all remember that show? I remember growing up watching it. It was so funny, but now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't want to be 60 sitting around the table eating cheesecake. We got Truck Turner saying, thank God for a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for the compliment. We appreciate it. We love that the men are here. This is so important to us. All right, so everybody's saying hello. And yes, Kevin left us great content. All right, you all, just scrolling down here. Yes, absolutely, Grace. Happy to share. All right, Out Here Trucking says, as this channel grows, are you ladies prepared for the backlash you will receive from other women? You all seem to have different mindset than when Kevin described as a modern woman. We'll tip around on this one. Well, Hermeisha, Lisa, if you want to put anything in the chat, I will say this. We are very intentional about this space is completely inclusive, but we know and we accept that men provide protection in the community as long as we show up as fit, feminine, and friendly. And so for years, we have been behind the wall of the Patreon or the mix having these private meetings so that we could get better. And time after time, the men would say, more women need to hear this. You all need to be out there. You all need to go out there. And we were always like, we don't want the smoke. So now that we are here, we are so glad that the men are here protecting and covering for us. And we are just going to continue to do the work and believe that you all will shield us as best you can. AV, what do you say about that?
Thank you for the question. Out here trucking, I think that's a good one, right? Especially as we are very, very new in this process. And you guys know I bring my notebook from the Kevin sessions here, right? And this is actually a topic we talked about in session 3. And that was AV people are not going to like you. They're not going to like what you do. They're not going to like when you switch things and you start to be successful and you do things differently and you get results. And Kevin looked straight in the camera behind the desk and said, F them, F them all. You're going to win. Right. So I want to encourage the women that are watching, like as you guys are like learning this material, learning how to think a little bit differently, learning how to move a little bit differently. Yeah, people are going to notice, and that's okay. And that's saying a lot coming from me because usually sometimes I care about what people think. But at the same time, I would just say that's the feedback he gave me directly. So I'm almost empowered to have to share that to you guys. Like he literally looked in the camera and said, half them all. So I just want to share that with y'all as well. During this process, when you do think a little bit differently, you are going to have people that are haters. So out here trucking, thank you so much for the question.
Yes, thank you so much. And I know we are still working to get Lisa's connection stable. So she just texted me, but she is here representing because Lisa is determined that we are going to get this message out. And Lisa says, oh, it just came through and I dropped it. But Lisa says that she is an Aquarius and she believes in spreading the good news no matter what. So the smoke doesn't bother her. And yeah, you all, like I said, we have over 70 of these and they're still up in the Patreon and in the mix. So you can check them out. So thank you so much, Lisa. Hermeisha, I'm going to come to you if you want to respond about the smoke we may receive and how you feel about that.
Bring it. Listen, um, we're not playing. Um, there's no way to say that. Kevin wasn't playing, and we're not playing. And I first want to thank that the men are here because they're in the chat. They're gonna protect us, and my daddy's here. I was raised by my father. He spent like 44 years, Los Angeles PD. Bring it. Let me clarify this. A lot of people think when we're feminine women. A lot of people use femininity as synonymous with no backbone. We're feminine, beautiful, and inspirational women, and we're calling other women higher. And Kevin called us higher, and it will sting. It stung us. But when you're ready to lean in and be the best version of yourself, you rise to the occasion. So that's why I say bring it respectfully, because I know it's going to make you a better woman. So bring it.
All right, Hermeisha is telling us exactly how she feels. So, we are ready. We are ready. Thank you so much for the question out here, trucking. Genesis is chiming in saying facts, never burn a bridge. Maybe we'll do an episode on that. You never know what life will come, what will come your way in life. Rodney also says burning a bridge is extremely counterproductive. Absolutely. You all like that question from out here trucking? Absolutely. Lucchese says so. And Brandon L. Jet has said the chat will be safe. That's one of the reasons why there are a lot of men moderators for this channel. He is right, you all. I'm not going to lie. Before we did our first live stream, I made the men who have been encouraging us. Some of us have our own channels, and some of you all we met in San Diego, and you all have been encouraging and supporting us. And so we are intentional about letting the men lead in protection. And Kevin always used to say, "We're the older women to teach the young," because men can only do so much, and they only will do so much. So if you're ready for that big sister or auntie or conversation maybe you should have had with mom, this is the space that we want to create. But all are welcome here. Thank you so much, Brandon. And to all of the men, we absolutely salute you. Yes. We know Luke Casely is a huge part of the community. We will definitely include. We're not ready yet to like drop the link and stuff. We're still getting our legs up underneath it. Yes, we know those of you all who have been in the community, and we appreciate you so much. This group of ladies grew in the Patreon because we had booked a session with Kevin, but we are definitely inclusive of you all. Lisa's getting the thumbs up. Thank you so much. Mira is saying, "You go, Hermeisha." Hermeisha said, "Bring it." All right. Condemnia is here saying, "Yes, sir, Brandon L. Jet, and out here trucking. The mods will be sniping the hyenas if and when they show up." So, pew pew. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh yes. Okay, out here trucking is talking about the other content creators who may come for us. Well, we know we are in a public platform. He says we know there will be black women doing reaction videos hating on these ladies. I understand and I accept that. One of the things that is very important to me when we created this space was not about saying you need to do this. It was that introspection that said this is where I messed up. This is where I bumped my head. This is where I got it wrong. And that's what's different about this space. We all bring our own experience and we're being vulnerable and saying we don't have all the answers and we've got it wrong, but learn from our mistakes and be better. So if they come for us, you all will protect us. Oh, thank you. Oh, Lucchese is just talking about you didn't have the opportunity to meet Kevin in person, but yes, we all know if you all are here, we know that you believed in Kevin and his message, so all are welcome. Brandon is reminding us about no man's land. I can see the tumbleweed right now. I know it is coming for all of us, rolling over that desert. Y'all remember, absolutely. Out here trucking and starting a petition. Absolutely. Okay, okay, yes. What's Rodney say? Nothing gets done without a sense of urgency. What did Kevin say? Move like your hair's on fire, right? We're not just gonna lay back and then pick one off the tree. It doesn't happen that way. We got Mr. Mustachio in the house. You all know him and love him. He says it's a darn shame that our society puts so much pressure on indoctrinating young women with the anti-marriage mindset. A lot of women don't learn different until they're in their 30s, and that's what we're trying to change here. So if there are any younger ladies that can learn from us, please, because all of us were 21 once. All of us were 25 once. All of us felt like tomorrow would never come. And it does come from for all of us. And if you've done the work to build those relationships, it will be a very, very sweet, graceful aging process. All right, so we talked about Moose. You know you're welcome here. What a name. Oh, you're talking about, okay, finally, the last few comments about Devil Boy kills you? Yeah. And what does Luke Casey say? Usernames can say a lot about a person. Absolutely. And Rodney says corporate activities seem to require masculine energy versus feminine energy. We talked about that in another stream, how they're competitive and how that gets on us. So, like what Hermeisha said, pushing back and promoting your femininity. All of that is on our page if you take a look at the shorts. Ah, we have Mr. Option One in the house. You all know him, also a huge supporter of us. He says, great conversations here tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we plan accordingly. All right, closing it out, you all. Rodney says, if a man uses his natural foresight, he must look into the future of his family without him. Kobe did so, yeah, like Lisa said, planning for the inevitable. So sad, but it is our responsibility. Real Bravado Network says, all I have to say about that comment on the short is wow, my manhood requires my woman to depend on me. My shoulders can take that pressure. Absolutely. And Mr. Option One says, when you are ready for a family, you should be ready to totally provide for that family. You should plan for that family's needs and well being when you are here and after you're gone. Mm. Um, Luke Casely says, unfortunately, there are many young men raised with that mindset. Hermeisha talked about that, the example that unfortunately the single mom epidemic produces. Okay, I think we're good. If I missed your comments, I think we're just going to go ahead and take one last lap. I just want to say thank you all so much for being here. I'll get through the rest of the comments. We are here for you every week. Please subscribe to the Wives Club on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And AV, any final thoughts as we close out?
One thing I really enjoy about this community, like we've been talking about, is so many men are here. So we saw Moose, we saw BLJ, the lead attorney popped in towards the end, out here trucking. It's so great to see so many men supportive of this movement. But I also want to shout out women like Luke Hazley, who are also content creators and kind of dabble in the same space that came from the Kevin space. And I think together we can really get this message out there. So I'm so appreciative of you guys. And I'm really feeling that tonight in the chat, right? This is like episode 3 on YouTube, but literally I am feeling so grateful for all of you and the other ladies on the panel right now. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Hermisha. I'm going to come to you. Any final words before we close out?
This is good. This is so, so good. I echo what AV said again with the support of the men. We need our men. Hashtag, we need our men. We need, wait a minute. We need our men. Yes. So thank you so much for being here. And we're going to keep pushing this content out. If you know women who can benefit from this information, send them on over. Say, come on, baby. I need you to check out the Wives Club. If you want to go out on a date with me, you need to listen to the Wives Club messages. Or, just bring them over. So the message and the content will speak for itself. And we're echoing, what we've are constantly applying and learning. And so, again, we don't have it all. We don't have all the answers, but we are humbled enough to talk about where we bumped our head, as Maggie say, and stubbed our toe. And we get back up and we're leaning into the work every day. So come and join us if you want to be part of the mission.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hermeisha. And even though Lisa is under the weather, she says she is still doing the work. And she says, thank you to all the men. Thank you so much. Yeah, she is unfortunately. So thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate you for being here. And I have one more comment I'm going to read out. We have a very special person here, and I'm going to say thank you to lead attorney. But one last comment. Sorry, y'all. I got a little choked up. I'm a softie, okay? I'm not a boss babe. Maggie is a softie, so things really touch me. But Moose is saying a man's job is to be a protector. And part of that job means protecting your family for the possibility of something happening to you. And I absolutely love how men who are ready for that responsibility not only think about today, but also the future. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Moose. The lead attorney is in the chat. You all know him and you all love him. He is so special. Not only are those of us students of his, but the Wives Club decided to come out into the open in San Diego. So I guess about 3 weeks ago now, lead attorney had a meetup in San Diego. And I've shared with you all, I met these ladies in the Kevin Samuels Patreon. So I had my session. The rest is history. They all decided to join. And so we would do these sessions virtually and we would meet each other, one at a time. But four of us had never gotten together, but we decided to all fly out to the West Coast to see none other than Brandon Eljet and the lead attorney. And it was such a moment because each of us had been thinking about bringing the Wives Club out of the shadows and into the public individually, but we just kind of pushed it back. We weren't ready. And I'll never forget, Hermeisha, we were sitting around the fire and she's like, ladies, what do you think if we had our own conversation? We decided to lock arms and bring the Wives Club to you all. And lead attorney, I'm a proud student of yours, but I will always be grateful because that meet up was the catalyst to why we are now here sharing with all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, you all, we've gone over time. We usually keep these about an hour, but this was so, so good tonight. If I missed your comment in the chat or if you're watching the replay, please leave a comment. Thank you all for the encouragement. Thank you all for the cash apps and support. We will be back with you again next Friday night, and it's already up there. I've forgotten what the topic was, but please come back. And like Hermeisha said, bring a friend, and we're going to continue to do the work so we can get better. So, on that note, we'll go ahead and let everybody have their Friday evening. Thank you all so much for being